What's up, guys? Max Scoville here.
Hi.
This is Brian Altano.
Hi.
And that one right there is Marty Slivo.
Whoa.
Beyond.
We are
Beyond.
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 We're here on
Beyond.
the balcony outside San Diego Comic-Con. This is I really like this because you get a sense of actually what's happening behind us. There's a ton of people running around. Some of them are dressed like sharks. Some are dressed like bananas.
Others
a
yelled
lot
at
more
us.
Dressed like superheroes.
Yeah.
There are, in fact, a lot of games at Comic-Con for us to talk about. You guys have probably seen more games up close and personal than I have.
Yeah, honestly.
Talk about them a little bit.
Last night, Brian and I roamed the show floor and played a bunch of games. Honestly, I think the company so far with the biggest presence here has been Nintendo.
Yeah.
They had an entire lounge set up with a lot of the games they showed off at E3, but they showed off some new stuff. And personally for me, Mario Maker was the really cool
Mario
thing.
Maker is definitely their big one. It's got a huge presence on the show floor, and there's also, they took out an entire separate area where there's even more Mario Maker.
Yeah.
So we got to play lots of it. The cool thing that you got to try was you got to play the levels that were actually at the Nintendo World Championships. How'd you do?
It turns out I'm not as good as those guys. I'm really not very good at those guys.
Those guys are very good at the game.
You're not as good as the top two video game players in the
No,
world?
it turns out that's not one of the prerequisites for working at IGN. The games are insane, though. The levels are absolutely crazy. Those levels sort of showcase just how masochistic you can be when you're creating these things and sadistic. And I don't know, it showcased just also the breadth of the creative tools in the game.
Yeah.
Like just how weird things can get.
Did you get a chance to play with the actual creation?
Yeah, I did, which is really cool. They only had 2 tiers of things available, so there's I think 5 or 6 tiers total. So I got to play with less than half of the tools. But honestly, the way you can swap between the original Super Mario Brothers and Mario World doesn't just affect the game aesthetically, but it affects the controls.
Right.
Like the original Mario has that very specific inertia, whereas in New Super Mario Brothers you can wall jump, so it's going to change how levels actually play out, which is really cool.
Yeah, we saw some really cool stuff. There's a Zelda level that was based on the temple from Zelda 2, which is what? I didn't even think of anything like that.
And then you're able to palette swap your characters and become Wii Fit Trainer and stuff. It's just really weird, and honestly, in terms of to me, that's one of the first really big games of fall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, before moving on to the next thing, I want to remind you guys that we are following all your questions on Twitter. Just tweet at IGN. Use the hashtag IGN Live. Somebody just shouted at you.
Someone's
Tried
yelling
to
at
tweet
us.
at you.
I owe that person
It's very
money.
distracting. We're working. Come on. Anyway, what else you guys see? There's also Mega Man stuff going on.
Yeah,
right?
Mega Man Legacy Collection, which is super cool. Yeah, I mean, we got to see that. That's it's Mega Man 1 through 6, which some people are going to be like, oh man, that's kind of a bummer that the first 9 aren't there. But what they really did with those games is completely preserve the games, pixel perfect the originals.
Yeah, this to me feels like this sort of. I feel like the collection we got on the GameCube and the PS2 was kind of there. It had some issues, but this is now they've rebuilt an entire new engine that preserves NES games, which is kind of really exciting. Even just outside of this, this is the kind of thing they could possibly even license to anyone else who made Nintendo games.
Really important.
And
the conservation of older games is kind of something that people don't really do.
Yeah,
and when we see digital versions, frequently it's just emulation. So
yes, exactly. And they're sort of billing this as the Criterion collection of video games, which seems like it could be a little pompous or arrogant, but when we see the breadth of concept art and music and everything that's in there, that this really is sort of an important step forward in terms of where video game preservation can go.
Yeah.
What else did we check out? Anything else?
Yeah, we played some more Zelda Triforce Heroes.
We did, which is actually a
how was that? I'm really curious about this because this is a game that I like. I mean, it's a co-op. It's kind of a 4 swords thing, but it's
3 swords.
So I think the 3 of us need to play it together, 100%. It's one of those things where I think if you play online, you're kind of going to have mixed results. It's definitely heavy on communication. I think it's very important to have that in the room. It's also pretty hard, which I was really surprised to find. It's got these kind of spikes in challenge that really go with how well or how poorly you communicate with your friends.
Yeah. And at the beginning of a level, you the 3 of you each choose a single weapon to take, or ability to take in. So someone had the ability to blow wind, whereas that was the old blow wind ability. Whereas I had the bombs, so I'm the only one with the bombs. And when we split up, we sort of have to figure out, well, how do I use my bombs and how do I get them over to Brian so he could blow something out?
Yeah, you get a lot of weird conversations like that, right?
A lot of wind blowing.
Yeah. Hey, wind, blow me over there. It's weird, but that's part of the game.
This is. I mean, you guys are playing all sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
I mean, is this a thing you can play online proper?
It's going to be, dude. Honestly, it's going to be tough. There's emotes you can hit, but unless you're Skyping with people, there's not going to be voice chat. I don't think.
Yeah. They do some stuff that kind of makes it easier to find where the other players are. So all you have to do is hold down on any other link, and you'll see where he is in the game. So it's interesting. I think that'll be a good solution, but we'll see. This is going to depend on how many temples are in there and how much there is to do.
Yeah.
Because there's not much in the way of overworld stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I know you guys at home, you have some questions, and luckily we have Answers. Comic-Con Answers, brought to you by Marvel's Ant-Man. Do you get it? Answers? Answers? Yes! That's the one, right there. Anyway, like I said, you can tweet these at us, at IGN. Use the hashtag IGN Live. Given the creative community and tools available in Mario Maker going forward, how will this affect the innovation of 2D Mario games? That's from Andy Monaghan.
Good question.
Monahan.
Yeah.
What do you make of this?
That's actually my main sort of, like, it's the gift and the curse of all this, right? It's that we'll get Mario games forever, but I don't know what it means next for Nintendo. I think for them, they'll probably retire the new Super Mario art style. They'll get away from the original sprite-based stuff, and they'll have to do something brand new and next, so we'll see what happens.
How cool would it be to see, like, maybe a third-party developed hand-drawn Mario?
See, that's really cool. I like the idea of that. I also like the idea that there is a creator, like someone out there starts making really rad, gnarly levels, and Nintendo plucks them.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you want, we know there's been modders for FPSs that have, like Steve Gaynor, who made Gone Home, like started off modding games.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he got hired to make games. So I don't know, that could be really cool for sort of crowdsourcing really amazing talent.
Yeah, and it sounds like Nintendo's kind of interested in possibly, I mean, they're open to having creators who are on a more professional level too, try stuff out too. So I'd love to see, somebody like Inafune try his hand at making a Mario Maker level. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to see like a death of 2D Mario games by any
No,
means.
absolutely.
This just isn't like the kind of like, well, it's been fun. Here, it's up to you guys now. I think if anything, this means we're probably going to see like a new 3D one.
See, I mean that would be an awesome sort of blessing in disguise for taking a few years break off of 2D Mario's, is that we get Galaxy 3.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
good compromise.
Cool. Anyway, good question. Thank you guys for watching. We are doing plenty of Comic-Con stuff as we continue forward through Comic-Con, so keep it right here, and we will see you guys real soon.